April 7, 2024. Under the humid night sky of Raleigh, North Carolina, 30,000 fans stood in stunned silence as J. Cole, one of the three undisputed titans of modern hip-hop, walked to the edge of the Dreamville Festival stage. He didn't drop a surprise album or debut a chart-topping single. Instead, he did something the industry considers a cardinal sin. He apologized. He called his own diss track against Kendrick Lamar the lamest, goofiest shit he had ever done, pleading with his peer to forgive him for the transgression of competition. In an art form built on the bones of rivals and the myth of the untouchable ego, Cole's public penance was a glitch in the simulation. What began as a career-defining rivalry had mutated into a moment of radical vulnerability that threatened to dismantle the very foundations of rap's warrior culture. But beneath the talk of peace and spiritual growth lies a more calculated reality, a $100 million corporate machine that requires conflict to stay fueled, and a superstar who realized he was being used as a pawn in a war that had no winners. This is the story of why the industry is terrified of what J. Cole just did. For 40 years, the hip-hop industry has functioned as a high-stakes gladiatorial arena where blood on the tracks translates directly to billions in the bank. The narrative is as old as the genre itself. Two kings enter, one king leaves, and labels collect the tolls from the bridge as it burns. From the fatal rivalry of the 1990s to the meme-saturated beefs of the streaming era, conflict has always been the most effective marketing tool in the arsenal of Universal, Sony, and Warner. It is a reliable, repeatable engine of engagement. When Kendrick Lamar lit the fuse with his verse on Like That in March 2024, the entire ecosystem salivated. The metrics were undeniable. Social media mentions skyrocketed. Catalog streams for all parties involved surged by double digits, and the stage was set for a summer of high-definition animosity. J. Cole was the first to answer the call. His response, 7-minute drill, was a tactical strike designed to satisfy the bloodlust of a fan base that views lyrical combat as the ultimate litmus test for greatness. For 48 hours, he played the part the industry demanded. He was the aggressor, the competitor, the technician. He was upholding the legacy of the Big Three, a triumvirate of Drake, Kendrick, and himself that had dominated the airwaves for over a decade. But as the track climbed the charts, Cole felt a fundamental misalignment. He was a man who had spent the last 5 years cultivating an image of the wise elder, the middle child, the rapper who had traded the jewelry and the beef for Crocs and a bicycle in Brooklyn. He was being pulled back into the mud by a machine that cared more about his participation in a profitable war than his mental well-being or his artistic integrity. When Cole stepped onto that stage in Raleigh to retract the song, he wasn't just apologizing to Kendrick Lamar, he was resigning from the industry's unpaid marketing department. To the purists, it was a surrender. To the commentators, it was a legacy-killing act of cowardice. But to the architects of the music business, it was a terrifying precedent. If a superstar at the peak of his powers could simply opt out of the conflict, the entire economy of rap beef would begin to crumble. The industry thrives on the idea that these artists are larger-than-life figures whose lives are defined by these rivalries. Cole pulled back the curtain and showed the world that it was all a choice, and often a miserable one. The fallout was immediate and visceral. The internet, a place where nuance goes to die, labelled him a sellout, a soft touch, and a man who had forfeited his claim to the throne. But as the weeks progressed and the feud between Drake and Kendrick Lamar descended into a toxic, scorched-earth campaign involving allegations of sex trafficking, hidden children, and domestic violence, Cole's apology began to look less like a surrender and more like an escape. He saw the cliff that his peers were about to drive over and decided to jump out of the car. He realized that in the age of surveillance and total information warfare, a rap beef is no longer just about who has the better metaphors. It is a race to the bottom, where the goal is to destroy the opponent's humanity, family, and brand. This is where the industry's fascination with Cole's move turns into genuine anxiety. The music business is currently navigating a period of profound instability. Streaming growth has plateaued, the barrier to entry has never been lower, and the power of the traditional gatekeepers is waning. In this environment, the major labels rely on tentpole events, moments of cultural mass that force everyone to pay attention simultaneously. A high-level rap beef is the ultimate tentpole event. It creates a feedback loop of content. The songs lead to reaction videos, which lead to think pieces, which lead to social media debates, all of which drive users back to the streaming platforms. By walking away, Cole didn't just hurt his own brand, he threw a wrench into the gears of the entire attention economy. He exposed the dirty secret of the modern music industry, that the artists are often the only ones who actually suffer from these conflicts. The labels make money whether the artist wins or loses. The streaming platforms don't care if a song is a masterpiece or a malicious lie, as long as it gets played. The fans get a summer of entertainment. But the artists are left with the psychological trauma, the legal liabilities, and the permanent stains on their reputations. Cole's refusal to play the game was an act of labour desertion. He looked at the job description of a top-tier rapper, which apparently now includes being a private investigator and a character assassin, and decided the salary wasn't worth the soul-crushing cost. The industry is talking about J. Cole because he redefined what it means to be a mogul in the 2020s. For years, the template for the rap mogul was Jay-Z or P. Diddy, men who conquered through accumulation, intimidation, and the projection of invincibility. Cole is suggesting a different path, one defined by boundaries, self-preservation, and the rejection of the industry's toxic rituals. He is betting that his fans will value his authenticity more than his win-loss record. It is a risky gamble in a culture that treats empathy as a weakness and cruelty as a sport. But there is a darker truth beneath Cole's peaceful exit. By stepping aside, he inadvertently cleared the path for the most destructive musical conflict in a generation. Without Cole acting as the stabilizing middle ground, the Drake and Kendrick war became a binary struggle for total dominance. The industry watched in awe and horror as two of its biggest assets dismantled each other's public images in real time. The numbers were historic, but the cost was astronomical. The music that emerged wasn't a celebration of the craft, it was a weaponization of it. Cole's apology was a warning that the genre was moving into a dangerous new phase where the music was secondary to the destruction. As the smoke clears from the summer of 2024, the industry is left to grapple with the vacancy Cole left behind. He proved that the Big Three was always a fragile construct held together by the industry's need for a tidy narrative. By removing himself, he broke the triangle and forced everyone to look at the wreckage that remained. The industry is talking about what he did because they're trying to figure out if his departure was a one-off moment of personal crisis or the beginning of a larger movement of artists refusing to be exploited by the conflict industrial complex. The reality is that hip-hop is at a crossroads. It can continue down the path of hyper-confrontational, algorithm-driven spectacle, or it can follow the breadcrumbs Cole left on that stage in Rally. The industry, of course, wants the spectacle. They want the drama. They want the blood. They want the 7-minute drills that turn into hour-long documentaries and multi-year lawsuits. They want artists who are willing to sacrifice their peace for a temporary spike in the quarterly earnings report. J. Cole's apology was a declaration of independence from a system that views human beings as content streams. He reminded us that the man behind the microphone is not a character in a video game, but a person who has to live with the consequences of his words long after the trending topic has faded. To some, he will always be the man who folded. To others, he is the only one who had the courage to tell the truth in a room full of people paid to lie. But to the industry, he is a dangerous anomaly, a king who realized the crown was made of thorns and simply took it off. This is the story of a man who chose his life over his legend, and in doing so, exposed the hollow heart of the empire he helped build.